Iran's foreign ministry has described the first session of nuclear talks with U.S. officials as constructive after their high-stakes meeting in Oman concluded. Iran's foreign minister was in Muscat for indirect talks with the Trump administration. But Abbas Araghchi briefly met with U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff in person at the end of the discussions. The U.S. and Iran are seeking a new nuclear deal after Trump pulled out of an earlier agreement during his first term. The announcement of these talks came during Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House this week. Now, Araghchi said that Tehran and Washington were close to agreeing on the content of future negotiations.
Neither we nor the other side want fruitless negotiations, discussions for discussion's sake, time wasting or talks that drag on forever. The American side also said that the desired agreement is the one that can be reached in the shortest possible time, but that it won't be easy and will require the necessary will from both sides.
Let's get some analysis here. I'm very pleased to welcome Fawaz, Gerges, a professor of Middle Eastern politics and international relations at the London School of Economics. So today's talks have been called, quote, constructive by Iran's foreign ministry. Do you think it's too soon to talk about thawing relations between the U.S. and Iran?
Well, I think it's too soon. It's soon to talk about relations between Iran and the United States. I think it's the right step. It's a good step in the right direction. There is deep distrust between the United States and Iran. What we have seen today is basically breaking the ice between Iran and the United States, trying to really build trust between the two sides. What gives me hope is that there was a brief encounter between the Iranian foreign minister and the American envoy, Steve Witkoff. And I think this is a good gesture. It tells me that both sides are serious about really talking about the nuclear program. And what we know now is that there will be another round of talks between Iran and the United States next Saturday. So the early signs is that trust is being really built between the two sides at this stage.
And moving forward into these next rounds of negotiations, where do you see potential sticking points in any new agreement they might come to?
Well, I think what the United States was, the U.S. maximalist position. The Americans want to dismantle the entire Iranian nuclear program. They also want Iran to dismantle its ballistic conventional program. And they want to limit Iranians' regional influence in Iraq, in Lebanon, and in Yemen. What Iran wants is that, of course, this is a non-starter for Iran, dismantling its nuclear program. What Iran wants is basically to oversight. I mean, it's willing to accept limits on enrichments of nuclear materials and outside monitoring of its nuclear activities, but it's unwilling to dismantle its nuclear program, and it's unwilling to talk about its defense capabilities and its regional influence either in Iraq or Lebanon and in other places. But remember, these are the maximalist positions of both sides. This is really what diplomacy is all about. I think at the end of the day, both sides have to climb down from the tree, and that's the only way for a diplomatic breakthrough. The reason why I'm a bit optimistic, even though there's a huge divide between the two sides, I think what we know is that President Trump does not really want a massive regional war, because he historically has criticized previous American administrations for engaging the United States, involving the United States in endless wars. And Iran, of course, is very serious about a political and diplomatic breakthrough, because its economy is in a severe situation. And also, Iran does not really want to be dragged into war with either the United States or Israel. But it's early at this particular stage. I think the ice has been broken. I think both sides seem to be genuine about proceeding for the next and third phase of the talks between themselves.
Fawaz, Gerges, thank you so much for your analysis here. We've been speaking to Professor of Middle Eastern Politics and International Relations at the London School of Economics.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Sara Bazoobandi, non-resident research fellow at the Institute for Security Politics at Kiel University, and she joins us now from Hamburg. Sara, Donald Trump is offering something of a restart in relations, but given that it was Trump who pulled the U.S. out of the 2015 nuclear deal, why would Iran trust Washington to keep its word this time around?
Yes, it's very clear from the narrative that we hear from Tehran that there is a great deal of skepticism. There are even various internal voices amongst the very hardline, outspoken hardline media platform, for example, Kayhan newspaper or Javan newspaper, that are known for being extremely close to the conservative elements of the establishment, that they are raising this criticism. And they, in fact, they are describing these negotiations, these talks, as merely a speed bump on the path of Iran dealing with the US pressure. So not exactly heading to a happy ending, successful deal making, but just to slow down the tension and to avoid the possible military crisis. Of course, it is very difficult to assess who is going to be the major issue in this and the major obstacle in these negotiations, because each side are coming from their own views and there seem to be possible common ground to be reached, but not really clear what that common ground could be.
How do you interpret President Trump's recent threats of, quote unquote, serious consequences for Iran if the talks fail?
I think he's been very clear. He talked about military actions. He talked about the so-called military option. He doesn't clarify what that military option could be, but there has been several talks, I think, amongst the American team in consultation with the Israeli side over the possibility of a strike against Iran nuclear sites. But and in fact, there has been some intelligence that has reached to open access platforms that we know for a fact that there has been a great deployment to certain areas, to certain military bases that are close to Iran, that the US could potentially use them for a future strike against those sites.
Does Russia have any role or influence in this?
Russia seems to be awfully quiet in these conversations. They haven't really expressed any clear sort of standing about this. But of course, at the beginning of these talks, talking about finding a possible path to more negotiation. What I mean, not the talks that are taking place today. Senior officials from Moscow visited Tehran, and we don't know about the content of conversations, but it could have not been on the agenda, these potential threats. So there are some speculations that maybe perhaps Russia is happy to receive some compromises from the West in Ukraine in exchange for giving a carte blanche to the West, and especially to the US and Israeli side on Iran. It's really not clear, but this is all based on speculation, but it could potentially be one of the paths that Russia is willing to take.
Understood. That is Middle East analyst Sara Bazoobandi. Many thanks to you.